Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Jyoti Kapil welcoming you on behalf of Atlas Skill Tech University to today's session under AAROHAN 3.0, the third edition of the prestigious Global Summit Series organized by the Student Research and Development Cell at the Atlas Skill Tech University. This year's theme, Vision 2050, Catalyzing Innovation and Transformation, reflects our commitment to exploring the transformative power of innovation in shaping a sustainable and technologically advanced future. AAROHAN serves as a pioneering platform where thought leaders, researchers, and innovators come together to discuss ideas that will define the decades ahead. As a part of this summit, we are honored to host an exciting workshop today titled AI in Contemporary Research, Opportunities, Challenges, and Ethical Considerations, led by none other than Professor Dr. Rahat Munir, Head of the Department of Accounting and Corporate Governance at Macquarie University. Welcome, Professor. As
Thank
AI
you.
reshapes, thank you, sir. We are so honored to have you here today. As AI reshapes the landscape of academia and industry alike, this session will explore its evolving role in research, delving deep into its potential challenges and ethical implications. From revolutionizing data analysis to raising critical concerns about research integrity, AI demands a thoughtful, balanced approach. And who better to guide us than you, sir, a global academic leader and research leader with rich cross-disciplinary background. Before we invite him to share his insights, allow me the privilege to introduce Sir formally. Professor Rahat Munir is the head of the Department of Accounting and Corporate Governance at Macquarie University, Sydney. A specialist in forensic accounting, Professor Munir is internationally recognized for his work on financial crime investigations and financial statement integrity. Before transitioning into academia, he held senior roles in the banking sector. He's a fellow chartered accountant, fellow CPA, and a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy. He earned his PhD from Macquarie University. His expertise spans across curriculum innovation, accreditation processes like AACSB and AMBA, and pedagogical excellence. He has fostered collaborations with institutions and professional bodies across China, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Europe, and beyond. With over 100 peer-reviewed publications, books, and reports, he has made significant contributions to areas such as management accounting, CSR, corporate culture, governance, and UN Sustainable Development Goals. His research has had impact across sectors, including the big four accounting firms, manufacturing sector, airlines, politics, and banking. He has supervised over 20 doctoral students, served on editorial boards and scientific committees globally, and his work has been recognized through multiple international awards, including honors at the Wharton QS Stars Reimagine Education Awards and the Business Higher Education Roundtable Awards. Professor Munir also leads prestigious industry academic collaborations such as the CFO Forum, Women Thought Leadership Initiatives, and Business Leaders Roundtables. Sir, we are truly honored and privileged to have you here today with us. And let us welcome Sir with a huge virtual applause. Professor, we eagerly look forward to listening to your insights on the topic. Over to you, Professor. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Luckily, I'm in Chicago today and speaking to you all. It's very early morning, 8 a.m., I think so right now. Perfect time to speak and talk on a topic which is on artificial intelligence. So once again, thank you very much. The topic is something which has triggered a lot of talk on future of work and future of research and even future of teaching as well, academia. So what I'll do is I'll obviously within 1 hour talk about research, but there'll be a lot of things which we will enter into unknown territory. So AI is very unknown territory. We don't know what's going to happen in next few months or in 1 year, because the world is changing fast and very fast. So let me quickly share my slides, and if it's okay, I'll be using my slide deck for my presentation. Is that visible to everyone? Just one person nods?
Yes, sir, we can see that.
All right, fantastic. All right, so if I take you back to 1950s, 1960s, or maybe even 1970s, many of you would know perhaps this is how a car manufacturing plant used to look like. People everywhere, assemblies were done in a very rude form. I'm not talking about, Stone Age. I'm talking about 30 years ago, or perhaps even 25 years ago. The same plant now looks like this. So what happens is the human intelligence has gone in the background and artificial intelligence has come forefront through robotics, managing through machines, managing through languages, which are machine-driven languages. And that has transformed the entire sector, not only manufacturing sector, but financial sector, or maybe educational sector as well. So we talk actually a machine language nowadays. We research in the machine language nowadays. So that's a complete transform. Just to give you an example, back in 1950s and 60s, those who are in finance areas or accounting areas, perhaps at that time, the cost of product was around 16 to 17% higher when there were more involvement of humans in a manufacturing process than now when there is a zero involvement at the front desk or at the workshop level, which is very low. It means either the profitability of these institutions have gone high or increased, or at the same time, perhaps the cost of product by itself in times value money perhaps has gone down. So it means at the end, consumer is getting benefit of whatever advancements in technologies or artificial intelligence has come. So this phenomena is not new. And if we go back 100 years ago, there was agricultural revolution. It took 70, 80 years at that time, all right, and the developments, and then we saw early 1900, a lot of crops development happened, and we call it more agricultural revolutions. And then in 1920 onwards, mostly, we entered into industrial revolutions when industries started, even in a city where very much I'm sitting right now in Chicago, all those sort of industries started in other countries as well. That's where the industries, people moved from agricultural to industrial space. And at the same time, what happened is we saw a complete shift in demographics also from rural life into urban lives as well. That's where the new and big cities started building up. And a lot of cities which were basically nowhere in the map have become most developed, advanced, and large cities in the world. And then later, and that time span was approximately 50 to 60 years, no more than that. So we had 100 years, and then we had 50 years in industrial, and still industrial is going on. But the shape of that industrial revolution has changed. And then we saw computing. And computing, obviously, computers were there long ago, 70s and 80s. But in 90s, when we saw Microsoft and then digitalization, and then we saw touch screens of Apples and so on. That, again, within 10 to 15 years, changed everything, especially mindset of set of youngsters, school-going, university-going children's, and their style of learning changed very fast. And then, in last 5 years, perhaps I would say it was a little more, but last 5 years, age of AI. So you see that the ages over a period of time, the time span in every revolution is declining from 100 to 50 to 30 to 5, and now the next is the quantum, basically, and that's where a different form of artificial intelligence. So my focus is on AI, and perhaps quantum is a future unknown, very much unknown, where machines will drive everything. Machine will drive humans. Machine will code, recode. So the intelligence will be produced through machines, not through humans. When intelligence is produced through humans, that is called as artificial intelligence. So let's focus on, because we have a little knowledge of AI. We have, a less knowledge, no knowledge of quantum, because that's a very specialized field. I'm not going to cover that, but maybe 5 years from now, when I'll be speaking, I'll be talking more on the quantum revolution as well, because that is going to happen. So these are the waves we saw over a period of time. Now, this is something which one can imagine also. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Even I can't guarantee what's going to happen in 3 years' time in terms of technology, in terms of developments, in terms of a new revolution comes. So that comes very, very fast. For example, it's saying that perhaps in next 5 years, many disciplines will disappear. For example, which I suspect perhaps post office could be one hit in the future. At the same time, perhaps we'll see the professional services jobs like drivers. There'll be driverless buses, driverless cars, driverless trains, which is already happening actually in Sydney. If you see that, there are driverless trains and driverless buses as well. And that's true. It must be in Mumbai as well, other places like your trains, for example. And they're all well connected. How they're connected, right? They are connected through artificial intelligence and the intelligence that's behind those programs which human writes and guide there. But in future, perhaps robots will be guiding and those things, and that would be a domain of a quantum in the future. So let me put this in a summary form, what I've explained. So in industrial economy, what happens is from 1969 to 1993, that's Industrial 3.0, where the soft skills was, a need, and then the term which was introduced in literature, that there is a concept of lifelong learning. We don't use this concept anymore because there is no lifelong learning. Like if you take you back again to this slide, then actually it establishes that there is no lifelong learning. In agricultural revolution, there was different learning styles. In a computing age, there was different learning styles. And then in a quantum, perhaps a different styles. But 20% was there. And then after that, we saw in 1994 to 2019 that a need for knowledge and digital economy came, and a lot of research published in this area. And my own PhD students, they did some doctoral degrees and published books on digital economy as well. And then we saw a wave of online banks, online insurance companies, online tradings. That is that era, right? That's where the 30% of the skills was soft skills. So what's happening is there's a shift between from knowledge or content into skills. So that's where the tension of skills and the knowledge started. And that started around 15 to 20 years ago. And if you pick books of 1950s and 60s, very heavy books written by people. And books are even, gone digitals. It means now it's more of human-centric economy where the 70% of your knowledge is skills-based knowledge. That's huge. It means remaining is only 30%, which you learn in a classroom. Rest is you learn through doing, and that is called as skills. Now in current, and I have given this new term to this, it's called as power skills, because we are entering into AI space. There are no more soft skills, because that's knowledge area. You need to have a knowledge to run, right? Run a computer, run a program, operating system, codings, machines. Everyone, whether they are doctors or engineers or finance experts or accountants, everyone perhaps have to have some understanding or some sort of knowledge of this. So it's better, I thought, in introduce a new term in the literature that's called as power skills. So we moved from lifelong learning skills slowly and gradually into soft skills, and soft skills kept on increasing over a period of time. And then now perhaps they have become power skills because success of a person, a success of a story, a success of any institution is dependent on on the skills, and those skills, which perhaps is 70 to 80% now, would make you succeed in the future. And then you would need a very short span for that success and the failure as well. So let me put this one in a different way. That's how that shift is happening um, in terms of abilities and non-technical skills as well. So let me define this. What is a technical and what is a non-technical? Technical is very much of your discipline. For example, you're accountants, you understand accounting, you're a chartered accountant, you're a CPA, or you have done any other finance qualifications, you're a financial analyst, you're a doctor, you're an engineer. That's technical in nature. You're an artist, that's technical, all right? And non-technical is how you undertake that activity. That could be perhaps common across different disciplines or different industries as well. That's why, we saw in 80s, if you look at literature, the concept of transferable skills also came, which you can carry from one industry to another industry. And those skills normally stays common across many of those industries. For example, you're smart in marketing product or promoting your product has nothing to do with the discipline by any chance. All right. Accountant could be a good promoter, marketeer person could be a good promoter, management CEO could be a good person in terms of strategy formulations and so on. Engineers I've seen also very good in promotions and so on. So it happens. So that is a common skill which stays in every type of discipline. So we saw that shift, number one, in a digital space, increasing over a period of time. And at the same time, you see that your emotional, social, and cognitive skills have also increased, from 53% to 63% over last 10 years. Whereas the technical skills, actually, it has gone down. And that is the irony, actually. It means people are less in terms of learning about about concept. It's more of way of doing things, a way of performing things. That's where the digital skills comes. That's where the non-technical skills comes. That's where the social and emotional, as well as the cognitive skills. So one more concept I'll introduce here is the emotional intelligence skills, or emotional intelligence before artificial intelligence back in 1980s were introduced. And that was the reason why there was more need for social and cognitive skills. But with the 1990s and onward, when we saw small digital phones or small iPhones, touchscreen phones, iPads, and so on, the element of social and emotional skills, perhaps more of a social skills, actually has declined tremendously in the new generations. And we have published a couple of papers on this, that how new generations, they perform when they are in a social settings. And often we have seen they are quite isolated from the social networks they have, which used to be back, in the generations which are called as baby boomers and so on. So before we get into details and explain research, perhaps a couple of things of 1990s and maybe 2000. First with analytical AI, what it is, And then quite recently, last 3-4 years, Gen AI. What's the difference between these two, and what's the common ground of these two? The first one is analytic is more of using artificial intelligence or computing. So that is basically a time which is a central of computing age and AI age. That's analytical AI. Or when this transformation was happening, there were computers and computer programmings and operations were used for analytic purposes. All right. So the concepts of spreadsheets style of analysis, dashboards, they were very common, and people used to make decisions based on data which was available. So success of a decision and the failure of a decision was very much based on analysis. And what happens is, these used to be produced at a bottom, below level, and used to go up to the senior management of a company, even sometimes board of directors, and they used to make decisions based on analytics produced by different executives within the organizations. Now it's more of a flatter type of organizations. It's everyone's job. It's called as Gen AI. Now, if you look at consciously and unconsciously, perhaps you are using Gen AI all the time. For example, if you're using blockchain or your for example, passport or your driving license, your bank card is digitalized, you're there in a blockchain, right? If you're in a blockchain, you're very much using AI there, right? So that is what basically it's happening is nowadays we say is everyone's job, all right? So AI or Gen AI basically create a new data and new contents, and then you make decisions by having a creative applications of that data. That is a change. Now, what happens is when a PhD student come to me and I said, okay, come back after 2 days, give me some ideas of what is available in the literature on this particular topic and what is not. And often students says, oh, in 2 days, perhaps I have 4 years to complete my PhD. Now, because I know that, with the chat GPT and other concepts, which I'll explain how we use in literature, one should be able to have some idea of some sort of gaps in the literature, what is known and what is unknown. So your research is for unknown, all right? So if you discover unknown, it means you have achieved something, and that's what your research is. And this is what journals they are interested in, that how you explain what is unknown, and then you contribute towards that unknown factor to make it known to the public. That's what research, in simple words, my definition of research is, all right? So that's what it is. So analytics is more of given data, using that data. Then Gen AI is creating a data, making it more innovative, analytics, all right? And data from data, all right? And that data, which is usable data for decision-making purposes. So here we're talking about a given data. Here we're talking about data which starts small and keep on expanding over period of time, all right? So the lifespan of this Gen AI perhaps is very short. Over last 3 years, we have seen basically a new generation's coming, and we're expecting a new generation next year as well on Gen AI space. And there's a race amongst companies also to come up with a better solution for the world in terms of artificial intelligence. So these are just stats. Perhaps these are outdated now. The day when I wrote, perhaps they were current, and the day I'm presenting, perhaps they are old. So when I wrote this type of presentation a few days ago in a industry academia dialogue, perhaps these stats are true, all right? And you'll see that over a period of time in 2023 onward, right? 79% of the respondents to the survey, we're testing Gen AI solutions, and now perhaps 100% people are using Gen AI every day, right? That's 2024 onward. So what will be in 2026 and 2027 onward? Perhaps we will move from Gen AI into quantum computing and 100% use of Gen AI for every aspect, right? So your classroom will become digital over a period of time. Your libraries are digital already, will become digital, all right? Your bank is digital, your insurance company is digital, your doctor is digital, your surgery, while you might be sitting here in Sydney or Chicago, your doctor is sitting in Mumbai or somewhere else performing. That is very much happening right now. This is what the world is now, all right? So what's going to happen in the future? All that sort of perhaps in a more advanced stage. So learning through deliveries, I identified, in fact, there was a report published quite recently by KPMG, and they also identified around 15 common tasks, and I picked these tasks from that report. What type of these tasks are, all right? So you'll see that common tasks which deliver value. And you will see that in most of the tasks, 13 or 15, or any other report published, or any other paper published on AI, perhaps research is something which perhaps is common. It means in the future, Gen AI will be used for research. Research means for discoveries. I'm not saying that for writing your thesis or writing your paper, that is very low end of any use of AI. That is first step of AI. I'm talking about discovery of, for example, medicines, medical products, all right, or discovery in terms of engineering and so on. These things now would happen through Gen AI, all right, because it's expanding and evolving, and then artificial intelligence creates another intelligence, then a multiplier effect of that. You would see that the most of the tasks would either be routine within the organization, Gen AI will be used for that, and at the same time, it will also be used for creative purposes. That's the definition I've just given you, all right? Research, information gathering, documentation review, analysis, presentations. Like I used actually Gen AI in writing my own presentation also. That's what it happens. So it gives you a lot of ideas, which is known somewhere, and I would perhaps spend 5-6 months on researching, but within a couple of days I researched and I verified. That's what Gen AI is. It verifies for you also, not only analysis, and then you make a conclusion. That's where the human intelligence would come into play, all right? And that would be perhaps little in terms of quantum engineering in the future. I was doing one a short paper a couple of days ago that's number of emails. So I get around 100, 150, sometimes 200 emails over the weekend every day. And how many of those emails have been written through using ChatGPT? You weren't surprised, perhaps is over 90% of those emails lack human element into those. So humanity is missing in the content of those emails because they are written by machines. That's what the change is. I'm not saying it's wrong. In fact, I'm the strongest advocate of using ChatGPT, even in the classroom. I'm a strong advocate of using AI, right? And but you see that how that shift has happened. Even the style of writing those emails, we noticed, has changed, coming from one person 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I picked even 5 years ago those emails from the same person. And then we saw that typographical errors and symbols used right, over a period of time has increased. And now every email coming from the same person, because we picked around 100 people who wrote emails to me over a period of time, that's where the change has happened. So these 17 tasks are basically on the top of this list is research, gathering information, analysis, and making a decision of what action you're going to take in a future research. Now, before we do discuss about benefits and lowlights, or highlights and lowlights of using Gen AI for students, for example, there's a lot of debate in US here, or even in Australia and other developed countries, that should we allow AI in a classroom? So then, in fact, if that is true, then in that case, there will not be a need for teachers in the future in the classroom. Students will learn through machines, and there will be a different form of communication, and there will be a different form of teaching as well. And that would be a new wave of learning to the youngsters. I'm talking about Gen Alpha and then the future coming. That's completely different. So quite recently, I was running a dialogue in Sydney, and I asked one of the students sitting in front of CEOs and CFOs in the Sydney Basin organizations, and she said that I don't attend classes. The moment lecture notes are uploaded, I upload them in ChatGPT and ask to summarize points for me from the exam perspective and knowledge perspective, and ChatGPT does everything for that student. I'm talking about a good student, of mine. So that's a new style of learning. That's an eye opener. It means in the future, students will learn from a different perspective as well. Right. So the main motive and aim is knowledge acquisitions. Right. So if AI is a blessing, at the same time there are issues with the use of AI, because every technologies can be used for a good purpose, or it could be a bad purpose, or it could be ugly purpose. For example, nuclear, for example, for energy, it could be used for making a bomb to kill people. All right. So these are two different uses. All right. So AI is the same thing. For example, if I say a student who's writing an assignment, will get a lot of ideas, right? A good English, all right, as well in the assignments, or whatever languages. Normally it is English now. Their speed of doing that assignments, using that time for something else, would be there. And then there would be, if that become a routine, there would be some element of issues attached to that, the pace of those cognitive learning of a students and thinking critically and solving that problem, that would reduce over a period of time. And that is something which we as researchers, we believe like perhaps that is going to happen. So if in 5 days you can write a paper, a good research paper, which nobody can catch. I'm telling you, if today you write a paper using ChatGPT, no journal in the world can detect that you have used ChatGPT to write that paper, right? And same is happening with the PhD thesis also. People are using it and no one can detect. At this stage, I'm talking as of today. Only, people, those who have a knowledge, can understand this is not what actually it is, all right? So for the students, perhaps, I'm more worried about cognitive skills and abilities in the future, perhaps, of those kids and the students, perhaps were tremendously affected, because they would stop thinking. because someone else is doing that assignment instead of that person is doing that assignment. Now, what's happening is a machine is doing that assignment for that student. So there's a good use of artificial intelligence and Gen AI or Chat GPT, for example. Anyway, I'm not promoting Chat GPT here, but that's most common form. Use Gen AI. And then there is a reverse side of the benefits. We have to decide whether the benefits are more than the disadvantages of using ChatGPT. So now it's that's why there is a debate now that what is more ethical way of using ChatGPT means what are those boundaries which students should be allowed to use, like here you can use, you can't go beyond that sort of thing. That's our role as researchers and academics to decide what students can do and what students cannot do. I've seen in some universities they don't encourage people to use ChatGPT, saying that they will copy. They will copy. All right, nobody can stop. Its beast is in the room. All right, so we have to get maximum benefit from that beast. I think that is important. Now, moving forward, in a research paper, for example, you can very quickly structure that paper. So you're using it for structuring purposes, the process by itself. All right. Sometime in research, we use a word that, to my understanding, there's a very limited research happened or no paper has been published. We don't know. You're writing a research paper and you say that no paper has been published ever on this topic. Someone in Africa perhaps is writing it, but is not known to you, but is not in the main domain of research as well. So it means that claim is incorrect. So we can't make. ChatGPT will tell you that claim is not correct. Right? Your writing styles, you can tell, you can give prompts to ChatGPT also. And we tried this and we experimented, like my style, my co-author's style, we write with names, that write this paper with my Professor Muni's styles, and it writes in that style as well. That's intelligence, right? So it is a human-driven artificial intelligence, we call it. That's how when a prompt is given, it happens. But remember one thing, whatever you put in ChatGPT, it stays in a ChatGPT. If you give a prompt, it stays in a prompt. If you have a conversation with your name, it stays there. That's a threat. That's danger. It would always stays, and you can check that you put these prompts and you ask these questions from ChatGPT and the conversations as well. All right, because ChatGPT is all about prompts. You keep on giving prompts. The better the prompts you give, the better results you will get. All right, formatting and so on. But obviously, again, the same thing is the problem is the biggest problem we saw in a couple of papers for experimental purposes we wrote was incorrect references, or the references were wrong also. Incorrect means the paper were not these papers which were cited, and a reference given was also not relevant reference to that particular type of research as well. Obviously, this is a form of plagiarism as well. And then as a researcher, like research is nothing but thinking. Research is all about that your idea generation and then how you discover eventually and make a contribution which is a significant and original contribution. So what happens is, if you look at this definition of research, significant and original contribution, you might make a significant contribution through using AI, but you are not going to make original contribution there. So you're using ChatGPT. So the question is, how much of ChatGPT should be allowed to be used by the researchers? That is something very, very difficult. And that's why I said in the beginning that this is unknown territory. We don't know. Everyone is using it, yet saying we should not be using it. Everyone will use it and still talk against use of ChatGPT or AI, Gen AI. But to me, that's what the future is. So what we need is we need to form some procedures or some standard operating SOPs, procedures, or some codes which we have written the way we have written code of ethics for accountants, code of ethics for doctors, code of ethics for engineers. Same way we have to use codes for use of AI in the future for research purposes. And work is already happening, and there are a lot of people I know that they are writing these, even like IFAC and other bodies. They have started working on in these international code of ethics on use of Gen AI there. And I'm also part of one of those teams of working on this. So you'll have a good paper, but your contribution is zero. Your learning is zero from that research and discovery. And basically is what you have done is a machine has produced the idea, and then you have just reproduced that idea and put it in your language if you get a certain time there. Third possibility is in terms of data collection. This is a easy, perhaps, in fact, we should be using Gen AI for data collections, especially for the archival type of research we give. It gives you prompts where that archival data is available. I think that can be used. There's nothing wrong into this. So one is a writing, a discovery. Second is you collect data. You need data for that discovery, right? So perhaps there's a lesser of the stringent principles and the codes would be needed for quantitative and qualitative data. But remember one thing is when we were doing this research quite recently, we gave a prompt of writing conversation between employer and employee, interviewee and interviewer on that was on ESGs or on SDGs of United Nations. That how a sustainability manager is responding to the questions on when was this introduced, why you introduced SDG principles or ESG principles, how it has impacted your organizations, what was the resistance there. So there was a whole conversation came up. So my question was then what is the need of running interviews in a qualitative research, or running experiments in a qualitative research, or running a survey in a quantitative research, when ChatGPT is giving you an answer. But those responses are hypothetical one. That's why what happens is, in a data collection space, perhaps Gen AI will be used very little. And you will pick up your data to write a discovery, right? It means, that's why I use the word, there might be a significant or contribution or significant contribution, but that is based on data which is fake, all right? And the results are also fake. But the problem at this stage as of today is it's very difficult to figure out what is right and what is wrong, whether it is correct, who has written, and who are the interviews, and so on. Because we as journals or editors, we have to trust authors on the ethical use of research principles when that paper was right. So the question is now, is it right or is it okay to do that? Perhaps I would be a little reluctant in saying okay, because for writing, perhaps it can be used, but for data collection, use of data and faking that data perhaps would be a big gray zone where we'll be entering in a future. So research across disciplines, as I said, that where it can be used. For example, it would accelerate your data. Just to sum up what I've explained, pattern recognitions in qualitative research, which is very important, and a lot of repetitive tasks which happens in the organizations, that would be identified and removed. Cross-disciplinary innovation from one organization to another one, and from one technology to another one, simulations and real-time insights. So where are these revolutions happening? Medicines is the highest one, largest one. There's a lot of research, which is cancer research, diabetes, and others. It's happening right now. So that's a good use of research. Finance is there in every discipline, in fact, of finance or subdisciplines. Gen AI is being used. Humanities also, and climate sciences, quite a lot. Like we have a prediction of next 5 years of weather as forecast in Sydney as well. So what will happen in 2030 on Sunday, 30th of August, what will happen? We have that forecast. That forecast might be right or wrong, but it's based on models and the data which are part of this. And we build that pattern, and based on that pattern, you predict. And mostly those predictions are correct predictions. And then business and economics predictability, which is also there. So these are the few of the areas where GI or artificial intelligence is being used. Just a couple of more slides. In literature review, as I said, that's how you do it. I'll just quickly explain. What I teach to my doctoral students, and I also do, is when I have to generate ideas. Previously, we used to say think, talk, dialogues, discussions, day after days, and drawing those on the board, the frameworks. That's how we used to do. And there was a concept which I strongly encourage people to use, is structured literature review, where you read a paper, it's abstract, it appeals you, move into the conclusion side, right, and the future research. It further appeals you, then you read the whole paper. If not, trash it and move to the next paper. That's is how it was. It used to take days and days and days and days, and very painstaking job as well. But not is different there. The question is, how much information is available in the cloud or internet? All right. If all that information is available, then perhaps that job of finding through different prompts which you write, which is your job as a researcher, to write what type of research or gaps in that research still exist, and a further research is needed. Now, what's happening is you're entering from your comfort zone into a danger zone, because now you have to apply your human intelligence to find whether those gaps identified using AI are correct or not. All right. It means you still will have to live with your human intelligence to do that literature review. But life would become easy because there are a lot of initial, steps which are more clerical steps of finding those papers and list of references. You can get it very quickly and promptly through using artificial intelligence. That is there. So it means there'll be more and more and more use of literature review. And you would see that perhaps we'll be working on this also, a new concept, that the number of papers being published by different authors, their frequency has also increased over a period of time. People are really writing so many papers, which sometimes are humanly impossible to think, even like someone can write so many papers. And some papers are becoming with the two co-authors or single authorships have also increased over a period of time there. And that's because of of the benefit of using AI in research. So the biggest use of that is in literature, all right? And then second biggest use of that is in findings, writing your findings. I think that's where it could help you. That's creating relationships and correlations between different variables, whether they're dependent or non-dependent or control variables. That's would become very easy for researchers in the future. So different tools being used. This is I could find there. I normally semantic scholars. I use that one. ChatGPT is through that. Perhaps is another one. I try to stay simple and try to get maximum out of this. And then I use two platforms to check and counter check what is right, what is available. So what I do is I normally check, give me a list of references on this particular keyword. So I put keywords, and then from there I get all the references, and then I will go back to the journals and look at and download those papers and read those papers. That's how it is. So previously it was different. It was from journal to the paper. It is now the list of references into paper, and then into journal, and then into a paper. So these are in terms of the importance and the common use of tools which are used for literature. I'll be happy to share my slides, and you can see what is available. And mostly these are tools are 30 days, 60 days, 90 days free downloads. They are available. You can use, and they are as good as these subscription as well. So you don't need to subscribe these things as well. So what are the challenges? Maybe I'll show one more slide on challenges. Obviously, data biases, because data you get is not collected by humans if you're using AI. They are collected by machines. It's a black box sometimes, a problem which creates for you. You don't know transparency into that. Over-reliance on that data, which perhaps is sometimes fake data. It's your job to test that. In journals, we can identify whether data is fake or not. And obviously, interdisciplinary gaps would be difficult and very challenging to find there. So these are a few of the challenges and limitations. I'm just trying to summarize those in one word. Obviously, it's very costly if you spend time on using AI for writing a paper for you, literature review for you. When I said paper, I'm not saying writing a whole paper, like writing, for example, gaps finding for literature review or findings, drawing some conclusions based on your findings. Those sort of things are acceptable ethically within AI or ChatGPT. So these are few of costs of using Gen AI now and in the future, but obviously we would overcome these. I will just give you an example, and then I'll stop and take a few questions. When computers came, people were very reluctant in using those computers. Same thing is when machines and cars came, people were reluctant actually. While they were very costly at that time, on the saying environmentals and so many things at that time, and cruel for animals as well. And there's so many things. If you pick literature of 1920s or 1900s, you'll find all those sort of research published. And today, if you look at those papers, you laugh actually on those papers. Perhaps someone sitting 20 years from now, 50 years, would be laughing on us also, talking about whether to use AI in research or not. So my, principle is we must use AI, This is what the future is, and I'm the strongest advocate of using AI in research in any form. But as a researcher, it's your job to decide what is that line, all right, where it is acceptable use and this is not acceptable use, all right? So those are called as ethical considerations. So there are principles. I'm saying is at this stage, you are the one who define those principles, but there are going to be code of ethics soon coming, perhaps within 1 year, which will be used to control that what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. If you look at top journals on Australian Business Deans Councils or any other top journal, they ask you to verify, tell you have not used AI for writing your paper completely. All right, so that is not acceptable at all. So the future is as I said, obviously regulatory framework is going to be there, integration of AI with the human creativity, quantum perhaps will take over this. Emerging tools, chat GPT 5 is coming actually in few days now, broader sense, and obviously call for responsible innovations in the future outlook. Now the question is not whether intelligent machine can think. The question is whether humans can still think critically in the age of intelligence machines. People remember with AI will replace people without AI. So those who have no knowledge of AI will be replaced there. That's just like a computing age. Those who had no computing knowledge, they were replaced through revolution. Right? It happened, and we saw in 1980s there. And then another thing's not happening within next 2-3 years is those who are not using AI will be replaced by people, those who are using and expert in AI. So one last thought, humans and the machines, obviously this is going to happen. It might be you are visiting your surgery and a doctor, your doctor is a robot. That is a possible in 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years time, or at least the intelligence being used in the whole process is not human intelligence, they are artificial intelligence. So humans cannot be replaced, will not be replaced. Human is still a brain sitting behind this artificial intelligence. That would stay. That's why there are more jobs in the future, now and in the future, because of AI. So some people, they say, perhaps human will be replaced, so there are little jobs available in the future, it's going to hit that. No, there'll be more jobs. AI is creating more jobs. And if we look at the computing revolution, in fact, with the advent of computers, when it came, more jobs were created by computers, not less. Even in 1950s and 60s, Volkswagen, I was showing that picture, there are around 17% used to work on assembly plant for one car. Today, no one works, but still in any manufacturing plant, there are more labor used than at that time. But the work of that labor has changed. Now it is more of a critical thinking, decision makings. At that time, it was more labor. It was really a labor used with no intelligence at all. And they were doing more of a routine tasks. Now they are not doing those. In fact, they're involved more in thinking. And that's what it's going to happen in the future as well. So think big, start small, and scale fast, very fast. Otherwise, AI will simply replace you in the future. Research, I think, would be the biggest area. And if we have acceptable use of AI in the research, perhaps that is the best way of using AI. So thank you very much for the time, and thank you very much, Jyoti and Varsha, and then Atlas Tech for wonderful, topic for this summit. I think there should be more of these. I was very glad when I was approached. Such a wonderful topic, and I think India is leading in this space in the world. already. Thank you very much. Any question, happy to answer.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Munir, for all that insightful session. And believe me, our chat box is buzzing with a lot of questions that our participants have come up with. Some questions, gradually we did get the answers, but what I've seen is that questions have broadly come in two areas. One is on the student growth and responsible use of AI by students, and how teachers can then use AI to augment their teaching experience in the classroom. And the second is something which is coming from researchers, that how we can use AI in research responsibly. So I'll take the first set of questions. I've taken out few from, the whole lot of questions that we received. I'm also clubbing few questions together because the intent is the same. So the first question is on the student experience, which says that how can we as teachers utilize AI, the rise of it, to augment and support our teaching skills in the class. Our students are using AI and we want them to use it responsibly is one, but we as teachers, maybe we can use it also to do some brainstorming in the class, to improvise on our assignments, to make the class more engaging and be, in line with what they're doing. So how can we do that?
Yeah. So I think this is a very good question, and we have been thinking on this because this is coming again and again, and there are a lot of papers quite recently published on this also. Like teachers are discouraging students to use not to use AI or ChatGPT, while they themselves they use, right? So teachers are using and they're saying to students, no, it's bad, all right, don't use it, it's ugly, all right. As I said, it's not hunch, is a fact. AI is there. AI is not there to go. Very simple. Now, what is the ethical or acceptable use of AI? Obviously, it starts from teachers, because teachers are the ones who make careers of students. Students are using it already. If a teacher says that my students are not using, I think I should not be using this word. We perhaps are not living in the the world with senses. All right. So students are already using it, and every student is using it, which is okay, I would say. Okay, there's nothing wrong. Now, as a teacher, a couple of steps we have to take. One is obviously the way we craft our assessment tasks. It should encourage student to have ethical use of AI. For example, ask students, instead of having one assignment and say, go and write an essay on this topic on sustainability, or go and write a report on this, for example, on a company, Tata Manufacturing or whatever in India, and do financial analysis of that company. ChatGPT will do it in 5 minutes for you. Sorry, in a minute, less than a minute for you. All right. So it's our job how we craft those questions in that assessment tasks, that we engage students in a learning process. So a chat GPT or AI learning process through prompts. AI is nothing but that how correctly you can write those prompts, what you write. So it is basically, prompt is nothing but a conversation between you, me, as a human, and a machine. All right. So what I ask is just like two friends are talking, all right, and you're giving those prompts. Same way, you have to write your assessment task and telling student, go and now ask this question, and then you analyze and reflect. So what we have done is we change all our assessment into reflective tasks where students use AI and then reflect on that, which AI cannot do that. Reflection is something which AI still cannot do that. Quantum might be, because quantum is generates, from one to another language, from one thinking process to another. So you don't need to think. Actually, quantum will keep on thinking, all right, which is dangerous also, might be, but I don't know at this stage because I'm not expert of quantum at all right. But this is something which, as a teacher, we can do that, right? Number one. Number two, when we go for delivery of our lectures in a classroom, it's good to do some research. Now it's very easy. In fact, you spend few minutes on searching on a topic through using ChatGPT or any other platforms. It will gives you what it should be, at least some ideas what should be on your presentation deck. I think that is very important, so that you make it more relevant and beneficial for students. Remember, those 50, 100, 200 students sitting in front of you are very smart. They're very, very smart. All right. They are of current age. We are not of their age. All right. Their speed of using iPhones is much faster than the teacher. All right. So a teacher should keep this thing in their mind all the time. I think I have answered this question.
Yes, Professor Munir. I mean, every day we face that challenge when we walk into the class, and so true when you said that let's use the chat GPT and maybe change our assignments, which are more reflective tasks. I have one more question, which is an extension of it, which is from one of the faculty members who's asking how we can encourage a responsible use, especially for students with language or learning challenges, while still ensuring they're developing essential skills like critical thinking and independent writing. So other than using reflective tasks, students with challenges, specifically learning challenges, if there's some advice that you have for them, for us, for these students.
I think that is very, very good question, especially if you have students coming from different backgrounds. Some are from the low socio-economic, or people, their learning abilities and style and cognitive abilities perhaps would be a little low. Some people are with the influent backgrounds, perhaps will have more cognitives. Maybe their interest in learning is less, and low SES perhaps would be more interested in learning as well. All right. So I would group students into 2 or 3 categories depending on their intelligence level. So I think in week 2 or week 3, I would run a sort of a diagnostic type of task of using ChatGPT or AI, and from where you categorize those students into 1 or 2 different groups would require a different element and the scale of support provided by a teacher. So what we do is, and I have introduced at Macquarie also, that we run diagnostic assessments in week 3 and see that, not to identify a student at risk, in fact, to see that what level of support and nature of that support is needed to those particular students. And language could be one element of that support which potentially could be provided to those students.
I'm sure, our colleagues who've asked this question will go back and implement this strategy. And so will I do when I go back to my classroom. So the second set of questions came from researchers where they want to know what is your view on revealing in the research paper verbatim that some parts of the research paper is inspired by LLM, and does it open doors for direct rejection from the reviewer, from the journal?
Yes. Straight answer is yes.
So can we
Okay.
write? So can we
Yeah.
write in the end what part is from AI, or that should not be done?
Yeah, you can, but the policy of most of the journals is and is going to be is on basically discouraging using AI for your research. So what you can do is put sort of a disclaimer at the end that while AI has not been used for analyses and for drawing conclusions, however, potentially it is possible that some of that data perhaps is available and which could be discovered through use of AI. That's sort of a disclaimer. I think it's good to portent telling, look, because AI is being used everywhere. You have used AI, which people will do it, all right? So that's why I'm not saying don't do it, all right? People will do it, all right? Like people say, okay, don't commit crime, but still we have police departments, police is on every road, traffic signs, everything is written, protocols have been written, still on every road in Mumbai or everywhere, there is a police, standing on the every corner of the road. Why? All right, those are protocols. Police is a protocol basically for us to stop people. In fact, the concept of police came to educate people, but they are not doing that role. In fact, they are doing a police role, which is more of stopping and controlling role, all right? Not educating. So it means when we talk about research, in fact, it is more of a education. So if you have written something like a piece of which you feel like this is perfect and correct also, but you have to give it a human language. You have to give it your language also. I've seen like recently I was reviewing a paper, in normal words, normally often you cannot use uh, um, symbols, or dash is longer, all right? There are a lot of things which I can tell people if you want privately talk to me, I can tell you how can I detect very easily this email has been written by AI or this paper is written by AI. Very easy, I can detect that one. But there's no, through using machine, you cannot detect that. Unfortunately, humans can detect this. All right. So it's better you give a human language, you give your language to that. For example, 99% of CVs being written by students or by employees or job seekers, it's through AI. So there's nothing wrong in that. And what's wrong in this? I don't see any problem in this. Same as if you have used something and say, okay, here is what, when you give a prompt, all right? So this is the data, all right? But remember one thing, once it is in ChatGPT, in AI, it stays in AI. That's no more your. Be very, very careful in that. Even we have detected conversations happening, between peoples also, and they put it there and it stays there with your name. That's why I'm sometimes get worried also on this. So if you do that and say, okay, here's a paragraph, don't tuck everything there, right? Just this paragraph. One is comes in a refined form, all right, in a polished form. And then the ideas are there which you never thought of. And then, you apply your mind and change that into your term. Means you humanize, I would say, you humanize that paragraph or that research which you undertake. All right. So don't ask AI to write the whole paper for you. That's not your research. That is, AI's research.
So true, Professor Munir. I mean, we cannot take the human element out from the research that we're doing. And as you said earlier, that research has to be original, only then it adds to the body of literature. I have last question for you, which is quite interesting. What job will be created by AI that you will be most excited about? I mean, I'm very keen to know the answer to this as well.
I think okay, let me take this in academia actually. I believe in academia, the role of researchers would increase in the future and there'll be more exciting jobs in AI. So if you look at that, my graph, which I was showing, from digital skills increasing, but at the same time, cognitive skills are also increasing. It means the role of a typical researcher. So we will not perhaps call them as a teacher in the future, and this word would soon disappear. You'll see that we would be more discoverer, not even researchers, but to make discoveries and give that knowledge to a student. I think that is something which is going to to happen. So the title, even like if you use after this presentation, use the future titles of works in 2030, you'll find that very interesting titles like analytics, all right, is very, very common across that. Financial insights. In the past, we used word financial analysts. So insight has changed now. So means computer saying that in the future people will use word insight, right? That sort of thing. Advisory is very common title now is being used for last 1-2 years. So business advisor, risk advisors. So in the past, in banks, financial institutions, or in insurance companies, we used to have this insurance analysts, right? Or before that, there were insurance experts. We used to use that term, of banking experts. And then, now it's completely, they are advisors, business advisors. Now, if you look at the titles of these big four firms, all right, if I would have been presenting perhaps 15 years ago, I would have said, use word big four accounting firms. But I'm not using a word accounting anymore because they don't use accounting anymore. Deloitte or PwC or KPMG or EY, they say we are consulting firms now. And now they have started saying that we are advisory firms. If you look at their annual reports, they write a word advisory firms, not even consulting firms. Consulting means a financial, involvement directly and indirectly. We are advisory. We give advice, accounting advice, audit advice, risk advice, tax advisors, transfer pricing, whatever it is, all that has completely changed. So that would be another type of role. If you see that number of roles available, because I know Australian market better, has really gone high, and students are being hired into those dimensions. So within accounting departments, data analytics has become very, very common. It used to be zero in the past, never. In the computing departments, often data analytics people used to sit. Now they're part of the mainstream accounting and finance teams. So analytics, advisory type of roles are common, and there are more jobs in the future.
Right. So
Even if you,
yes.
just last one word. If you look at accounting, finance, business disciplines in the world, in top universities, top 100, 150 universities in the world, they have started, putting this, for example, is Master of Accounting and Finance with Data Analytics with KPMG in top 5 universities, 6 universities here in US, all right? I'm also offering this one at Macquarie in Sydney. So it's becoming part of this now, means we are moving away from a typical accounting into analytics type, like I'm teaching blockchain also in accounting. I'm teaching business advisory in accounting as well. I'm teaching advisory, forensic advisory as well there. So these are new areas. All right. So now in the last dialogue we ran with the industry, they said that machine languages should be part of accounting as well. All right. People perhaps 15, 20 years ago, people used to laugh on this, like why we need to learn, codings, machine languages. That is important now. So that's the future. These are the jobs which are going to future. So anything which is related to AI is going to be there, will live forever.
Right. I think the roles are evolving, and as facilitators, we will have to keep evolving to keep pace with the generation that's changing and the industry which is demanding newer roles today. I'm so grateful and I'm so happy that I could moderate this session today. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Rahat Munir, for this insightful and thought-provoking session that we've had today. On behalf of Atlas Skilltech University and the Student Research Development Cell, deepest gratitude to you for taking time out all the way from Chicago this morning and share your expertise on such a significant topic, which is AI in contemporary research opportunities, challenges, and ethical considerations. I think the examples that you've shared, the reflections you've given on the evolving role of AI in research will play a very critical role, in how we also modify our teaching and learning and how the research can evolve. We are especially grateful for all the insights, global insights that you've given to us and the practical wisdom that you've shared to today's dialogue. It was a complete honor for me to learn from you, and I'm sure my participants feel the same. I say it on behalf of all of us who've participated in this session today. It is a topic which is evolving, and there are a lot of questions that we have. So a lot of questions got answered. At the same time, we have a lot to go back and think on. So we look forward to staying connected. Thank you once again for being a part here and helping us take a step closer towards our vision of 2050 and beyond. And we sincerely hope in near future we'll host you again for another session on quantum computing, because then again we'll be at a crossroad, not knowing where to go, and we'll seek your insights. With that, I'd also like to thank all the participants for your active participation and whole lot of insightful questions that you've asked. We've tried to take all the questions. We've tried to merge the questions. I hope you've got answers to all the queries you've had, and I hope you're leaving with some useful takeaways that you can apply in your work and in your thinking. Looking forward to stay connecting with all of you in near future. Have a great evening ahead. And sir, I hope you have a wonderful stay in Chicago. Have a lovely day ahead. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.